This is a presentation by a very passionate taxpayer. I found out that there's another way to organize our schools. We don't have to make them large factories. In fact, there are two critics, Dan Pink and Robert Reich. Robert Reich says that there are no core studies for everyone beyond stay safe, healthy, and sane by, defensive driving, perhaps a course on nutrition, home economics, suicide prevention, and CPR and swimming lessons, perhaps a foreign language. But besides that, and then you have to choose which foreign language, so there's no core studies beyond that. Dan Pink came up with the idea that there's the rise of the importance of design and the right dominance. Right brain thinking will become more important than left brain thinking. In other words, a master in fine arts is more important than an MBA. In the 1950s and 60s, it was important to have precision and attention to details, looking at numbers, trying to be on time, whereas the big picture with colors, form, music, eye appeal, spirit, how do you feel, and management by walking around is more important than being just-in-time inventory and management by administrating. So, what does it mean? Well, you want to look at the big picture. There's this guy named Dennis Littky, and Bill Gates heard about this guy, read this book, and what's nice is somebody has already read this book for you. So, see, I can turn this exactly to the point that you have to know about, which is the 3 R's. Not reading, writing, and arithmetic. You have relationships, relevant, and rigorous. Well, guess who used those 3 words in a speech in February 2005? Bill Gates. He proceeded to give away $800 million because he says that these 3 R's take place in small schools. Well, when you start talking about small schools, there's the advisory system, there's the importance of telling stories to build a culture in a school, and oh, look at that, small schools. Yes, Dennis Littky is the guy to be reading. Turns out that his schools have 5 important pillars, you could say. There's the relevance, the rigor, and the relationships. There's one advisor in his high school for all 4 years. That's the same teacher in all subjects, so that the teacher really gets to know the student and the student gets to know the other students. Strengthening that relationship are narratives, not letter grades. In Littky's book, he's got a whole section on how to measure students. He talks about grades versus narratives. I'm not a letter in the alphabet. I'm more than that. That's what one of the students said. So what we're looking at is measuring what matters in a way that matters. Now, we have to add to this list a guy named Howard Gardner. I think he's down there. Gardner. And Gardner has talked about a performance of understanding. In other words, it's more difficult than a multiple choice test to stand up and talk about what you know. It's called an exhibition. And Littky talks about tests versus exhibitions. And he has a number of reasons why exhibitions are an amazing opportunity for parent involvement. Exhibitions allow teachers to really work together as a team. Exhibitions include outside community. Exhibitions promote rather than inhibit growth. Exhibitions completely eliminate cheating. And exhibitions encourage students to go deeper with their learning, not just try to get an A on the test and then forget about it later. It's going somewhere farther. So, for rigor, Littky uses exhibitions, not tests. To make something relevant, he builds the curriculum around the interests of the student. They go for internships, and they must write, at the end of 2 years, they have a 75-page autobiography, which is a book. This is a book. And it talks about where they came from. So studies are related to the internship, which is related to the passions of the student. A final part of the Littky formula is that alumni come back, and many of them become mentors. In Littky schools, he has one principal to 6 to 8 teachers and a total of 120 students in the school. Small is beautiful approach. In a modified Littky situation, you might have the same 5 teachers for 4 years, whereas typically what happens, if you have math for 4 years, you'll have 4 different teachers, one specializing in algebra, one in geometry, etc. What a Littky kind of school does is force the teacher to become more versatile. Now, this presentation has been given for parents who are trying to get their kid into college, which means we've got to have a high IQ, SAT score. Well, that's where the Bornley method comes in. If you multiply the tuition by the number of students, the total will be more than the budget of the university. Some students get reduced tuition, so you can pay your way. If you pay your way, you have some leverage. They need you. And if you have little money, it's nice to know that there's space for you. It takes more than a 700 SAT, or a 700, 2100, and a 3.9 GPA. How do you get in? Well, Dr. Lois Hetland, she works with Project Zero up in Harvard, and she's been working on portfolios and the importance of portfolios in assessing student progress. She says homeschooled kids submit portfolios showing their progress. Why don't public school and private school kids also submit portfolios? This is related to Howard Gardner's point that on page 161 to 167 in Intelligence Reframed, he talks about the performance of understanding. Now, for those of you who took this opportunity to find out how do you get ahead, right, what you're doing is you're subscribing to the Steve McCrea. It's a free day, no school, so make it a special day. Have your children finish their homework. Yes, this booklet will give your children an extra push. Now, I have a CD which takes care of this, so why not go ahead and get the CD? You can save the money just by going to freevocabulary.com, learn all those words, find videos on YouTube by looking for Mr. Math. This presentation about Littky by a passionate taxpayer will continue.